Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yatha Parakamlam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Saganaraganatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Sabladutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Paran Sahagana Lalita Shivishakam Vitamscha Om Jnana Timarandasya Gyanajana Shalakaya Chakshurum Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Gurva Bhishtam Supurakam Garganara Sesha Sambhushitam Chintya Chintya Samasta Veda Nipunam Shri Rupa Bhatanagam Govinda Vidam Ujwalam Bharatanum Bhaktyan Vidam Sundaram Vande Vishwagurun Shah Divyat Bhagavat Prem Noe Bija Pranam Devam Divyatanum Suchandamaranam Balarka Chelanchitam Sandrananda Puram Sareka Varanam Vairagya Vidyambudim Sri Siddhanta Nidhim Subhakti Lasitam Saraswatanam Varam Vanditam Shubharam Mareka Sharanam Nyashishara Shidaram Vanshakopatarubyas Chakripa Sindhubhyevacha Patitanam Pavinibhyo Vaishnavibhyo Namo Namah Namo Mahabharanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namane Gauratavishe Namah. So we're hearing from Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita by Srila Krishna Das Kaviraj Goswami, translation and commentary by Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, and this is Antya-lila, chapter 18, Rescuing the Lord from the Sea. So Mahaprabhu had been with the devotees, and they were going to different gardens and different places, and Mahaprabhu was remembering the activities of Krishna and the gopis, and then they heard about Krishna going into the water of the Yamuna, and at that moment Mahaprabhu saw the sea. So he, at the speed of mind, he ran to the ocean and dove into the ocean, and the devotees couldn't find him. They were looking and looking, and Mahaprabhu the whole night was being carried by the waves and tossed about, but internally he was deep in consciousness of Krishna-lila, and he was carried all the way to the Konark temple near there, which is like 18, 19 miles away from Jagannath Puri. So there, the devotees didn't know where he went, and they thought that Mahaprabhu disappeared and his pastimes were finished. But then, as they're searching, one fisherman came, and he was chanting Hari Hari, and he was obviously in a very different. He was in different consciousness, and he was, at the same time, he was frightened because he said he had caught some body in his net, and this body was tremendously long, and when he touched the body, some spirit entered into him and took possession, and he was frightened. But he kept on chanting Hari Hari, and he said, well, when I catch fish, I always chant the Shringa mantra for protection, but when I chant the Shringa mantra for my protection, this ghost who has taken over my body attacks me with doubled strength. So then Swarup Damodar told him that, don't worry, I'm an exorcist, and he said some mantras, and he slapped the fisherman 3 times, and then told him, all right, you'll be okay. And then he explained to him, the body you have actually caught is that of Mahaprabhu, and this is why you have this consciousness where you're in ecstasy. So then the man said, no, this is not Mahaprabhu. I have seen him many times in the temple, but this is some body that's very long. And then Swarup Damodar explained how the body of the Lord becomes transformed when he's sometimes in all his joints become separated and they're only connected by skin. Then the fisherman was content to hear this, and he took them to where Mahaprabhu was. Mahaprabhu was lying there covered with sand. His body was bleached by being in the waters of the ocean for so long, and they couldn't carry him home. He was like, his body was up to 10 feet or something. So they chanted the holy name, and then into his ear, and eventually the Lord came back to be with the devotees. So I'll read that, text number 76. Utite astisam lagila nijastane ardabayi iti uti korana darshane. As soon as Mahaprabhu got up, his bones assumed their proper places. With half external consciousness, the Lord looked here and there. Tindashaya Mahaprabhu rohena sarvaka ardadasha bayadasha ardabaya ar. The Lord remained in one of three different states of consciousness at all times: internal, external, and half external. Antardashara kichu gora kichubaya gyan sedasha kohebakta ardabayanam. When the Lord was deeply absorbed in internal consciousness, but he nevertheless exhibited some external consciousness, devotees called his condition ardabaya, or half external consciousness. Ardabaye kohen prabhu pralapa bachane akashe kohena prabhu shunena bhaktagane. In this half external consciousness, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu talked like a madman. The devotees could distinctly hear him speaking to the sky. Kalindi dekiya ami gelana Vrindaban deki jala krida koran brajendra nandan. Sing the river Yamuna, he said. I went to Vrindaban. There I saw the son of Nanda Maharaj performing his sporting pastimes in the water. Radhikari gopigan sange ekatra meli Jamunara jale maha range korana keli. Krishna was in the water of the Yamuna in the company of the gopis, headed by Srimati Radharani. They were performing pastimes in a great sporting manner. Tirera he dekiyami sakigan sange eksaki sakigane dekaya se range. I saw this pastime as I stood on the bank of the Yamuna in the company of the gopis. One gopi was showing some other gopis pastimes of Radha and Krishna in the water. Patrabastra lankare samarpiya sakikore shukma shukla bastra paridan Krishna loya kantagan koila jala vagana jalakeli rachila shutam. All the gopis entrusted their silken garments and ornaments to the care of their friends, and then put on the white cloth, and then put on fine white cloth. Krishna was taking his beloved gopis with him. Krishna taking his beloved gopis with him, bathed and performed very nice pastimes in the water of the Yamuna. Okay. Saki he deka Krishna jala Keli range Krishna mata koribar chanchala kora pushkar gopigan harinera sange. My dear friends, just see Krishna's sporting pastimes in the water. Krishna's restless palms resemble lotus flowers. He is just like the chief of mad elephants, and the gopis who accompany him are like she-elephants. Arambila jala keli, anyonye jala fela feli, hura huri barshe jaladar, sabe jaya parajai, nahi kichu nischai, jahal juda, badila apar. The sporting pastimes in the water began, and everyone started splashing water back and forth. In the tumultuous showers of water, no one could be certain which party was winning and which was losing. This sporting water fight increased unlimitedly. Barshe stira Tadid Chinche Shama Navagan, Ganabarshe Tadid Upare, Sakiganera Nayan, Trishita Chatakagan, Se Amrita Suke Panakore. The gopis were like steady streaks of lightning, and Krishna resembled a blackish cloud. The lightning began sprinkling water upon the cloud, and the cloud upon the lightning. Like thirsty chatak birds, the eyes of the gopis joyously drank the nectarian water from the cloud. Pratame Juda Jalajali, Tabe Juda Kora Kori, Tarapache Juda Mukamuki, Tabe Juda Rida Ridi, Tabe Hoila Radharani, Tabe Hoila Juda Nakanaki. As the fight began, they splashed water on one another. Then they fought hand to hand, then face to face, then chest to chest, teeth to teeth, and finally nail to nail. Sahasra Korijala Seke, Sahasra Netri Gopi Deke, Sahasra Pare Nikata Gamane, Sahasra Mukha Chumbane, Sahasra Bapu Sangame, Gopi Narma Shuni, Sahasra Kane. Thousands of hands splashed water, and the gopis saw Krishna with thousands of eyes, with thousands of legs that came near him, and they kissed him with thousands of faces. Thousands of bodies embraced him, and the gopis heard his joking words with thousands of ears. Krishna Radha Loya Bole, Gela Kanta Dagna Jale, Chadila Tahan Jahan Agarapani. Teho Krishna Kanta Dori, Bashe Jalaru Upare, Gajot Kate, Jaiche Kamalini. Krishna forcibly swept Radharani away and took her into water up to her neck. Then he released her where the water was very deep. She grasped Krishna's neck, however, and floated on the water like a lotus flower plucked by the trunk of an elephant. Jata Gopi Sundari Krishna Tata Rupadori Sabara Bastra Korila Harane Jamuna Jal Nirmal Anga Kori Jalamal Suke Krishna Kori Darshane. Krishna expanded himself into as many forms as there were gopis, and then took away all the garments that covered them. The water of the river Yamuna was crystal clear, and Krishna saw the glittering bodies of the gopis in great happiness. Padmini Lata Sakichai Koila Karo Sahai Taranga Haste Pancha Samarpila Keho Mukta Keshapash Age Koila Adobas Haste Keho Kanchuli Darila. The lotus stems were friends of the gopis and therefore helped them by offering them lotus leaves. The lotuses pushed their large round leaves over the surface of the water with their hands, the waves of the Yamuna, to cover the gopis' bodies. Some gopis undid their hair and kept it in front of them as dresses to cover the lower portions of their bodies, and used their hands as bodices to cover their breasts. Krishna Kolahala Radhasane Gopi Gana Sekhane Hemabja Bane Gela Lukaite Akanta Bapu Jali Paishe Mukamatra Jalibashe Padme Muke Napari Chintite. Then Krishna quarreled with Radharani, and all the gopis hid themselves in a cluster of white lotus flowers. They submerged their bodies up to their necks in the water. Only their faces floated above the surface, and the faces were indistinguishable from the lotuses. Eta Krishna Radhasane Koilaje Achila Mane Gopigan Anveshite Gela Tabe Radha Shukmamati Janiya Sakira Stiti Sakimadye Asya Milila. In the absence of the other gopis, Krishna behaved with Srimati Radharani as freely as he desired. When the gopis began searching for Krishna, Srimati Radharani, being of very fine intelligence and thus knowing the situation of her friends, immediately mingled in their midst. Jata hebja jalibashe tata na nalabja tarampashe ashi ashi koraye milan nilabje hemabje teke judahoy pratyeke kotuke deke tire sakigan. Many white lotus flowers were floating in the water, and as many bluish lotus flowers came nearby. As they came close together, the white and blue lotuses collided and began fighting with one another. The gopis on the bank of the Yamuna watched with great amusement. Chandrabak mandala pritak pritak jugala jala hoite korila udgam utilat padma mandala pritak pritak jugala chakrabake koila achadan. When the raised breasts of the gopis, which resembled the globe-like bodies of chakravak birds, emerged from the water in separate couples, the bluish lotuses of Krishna's hands rose to cover them. When the raised breasts of the gopis, which resembled the globe-like bodies of chakravak birds, emerged from the water in separate couples, the bluish lotuses of Krishna's hands rose to cover them. Utila bahu raktopal pritak pritak jugal padmaganer koila nivaran padma chahe lutinite utpala chahe rakite chakrabak lage duhara rana. The hands of the gopis, which resembled red lotus flowers, arose from the water in pairs to obstruct the bluish flowers. The blue lotuses tried to plunder the white chakravak birds, and the red lotuses tried to protect them. Thus there was a fight between the two. Padmotpala achaitan chakrabak Sachaitan Chakrabake Padma Ashwadai Ihanduhara Uttastiti Dharma Hoila Vipariti Krishnera Raje Aiche Nyaya Hoy. Blue and red lotus flowers are unconscious objects, whereas chakravaks are conscious and alive. Nevertheless, in ecstatic love, the bluish lotus flowers began to taste the chakravaks. This is a reversal of their natural behavior, but in Lord Krishna's kingdom, such reversals are a principle of his pastimes. Generally, the chakravak bird tastes the lotus flowers, but in Krishna's pastimes, the lotus, which is usually lifeless, tastes the chakravak bird. Mitrera mitra sahabashi chakrabake lutease krishnera raje aiche vyavahar aparichita shatrura mitra aparichita shatrura mitra rake utpala e bora chitra e bora viroda alankar. The blue lotuses are friends of the sun god, and though they all live together, the blue lotuses plunder the chakravaks. The red lotuses, however, blossom at night and are therefore strangers or enemies to the chakravaks. Yet in Krishna's pastimes, the red lotuses, which are the hands of the gopis, protect their chakravak breasts. This is a metaphor of contradiction. Purport: because the blue lotus flower blossoms with the rising of the sun is the friend of the blue lotus. The chakravak birds also appear when the sun rises, and therefore the chakravakas and blue lotuses meet. Although the blue lotus is a friend of the sun in Krishna's pastimes, it nevertheless plunders their mutual friend, the chakravaka. Naturally, chakravakas move about, whereas lotuses stand still, but hearing Krishna's hands, which are compared to blue lotuses, attack the breasts of the gopis, which are compared to chakravakas. This is called a reverse analogy. At night the red lotus blossoms, whereas in sunlight it closes. Therefore the red lotus is an enemy of the sun and is unknown to the sun's friend, the Chakravakas. The gopis' breasts, however, are compared to Chakravakas, and their hands to red lotuses protecting them. This is a wonderful instance of reverse analogy. Ati Shai Yokti Viroda Basha Dui Alankara Prakasha Kore Krishna Prakata Dekaila Ja Kore Ashwadan Anandita Moraman Netrakarna Jugma Judaila. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu continued, in his pastimes, Krishna displayed the two ornaments of hyperbole and reverse analogy. Tasting them brought gladness to my mind and fully satisfied my ears and eyes. Aichi Vichitra Kridakori Tiriaila Sri Hari Sangeloya Sab Kantagan Gandatoila Mardana Amalaki Utvartan Sevakori Tire Sakigan. After performing such wonderful pastimes, Sri Krishna went up on the shore of the Yamuna river, taking with him all his beloved gopis. Then the gopis on the riverbank rendered service by massaging Krishna and the other gopis with scented oil and smearing paste of amalaki fruit on their bodies. Punarapi koila snan, shushka vastra paridan, ratna mandire koilagaman, brinda krita sambara ganda pushpa alankara banyavesha korila rachan. Then they all bathed again, and after putting on dry clothing, they went to a small jeweled house where the Gopi Vrinda arranged to dress them in forest clothing by decorating them with fragrant flowers, green leaves, and all kinds of other ornaments. Vrindavane Tarulata Adbhuta Tahara Kata Baramasha Dare Vulafa Vrindavane Devigan Kunja Dashi Jatajan Valapadi Aniya Saka. In Vrindaban, the trees and creepers are wonderful because throughout the entire year they produce all kinds of fruits and flowers. The gopis and maidservants in the bowers of Vrindaban picked these fruits and flowers and brought them before Radha and Krishna. Uttama samskara kori bora bora talibari ratna mandire pindare upare bakshan nera kramakori dara dari jache sari shari age asana basi baratare. The gopis peeled all the fruits and placed them together on large plates on a platform in the jeweled cottage. They arranged the fruit in orderly rows for eating, and in front of it they made a place to sit. Ek narikela nanajati, ek amra nanabati, kalakoli bibida prakar, pashana karjura kamala, naranga jama santara, draksha Barama Meoja Jata'ar. Among the fruits were many varieties of coconuts and mangoes, bananas, berries, jackfruits, dates, tangerines, oranges, blackberries, santaras, grapes, almonds, and all kinds of dried fruit. Karamuja Kirikatal Keshura Pani Phalam Mrinal Bilva Pilu Dadim Badijat Konadeshe Karakyati Vrindavane Sabha Sahasrajati Leka Jayakat. There were cantaloupes, shirikas, palm fruits, kesharas, water fruits, lotus fruits, bell fruits, pilus, pomegranates, and many others. Some of them are variously known in different places, but in Vrindaban, all of them are always available in so many thousands of varieties that no one can fully describe them. Ganga Jala Amrita Keli Piyusha Granti Karpura Keli Sarapuri Amrite Padma Chini Khanda Shira Sarabrika Karikore Nana Bhakya Radhajaha Krishna Lagyani. At home, Srimati Radharani had made various types of sweetmeats from milk and sugar, such as Ganga Jal, Amrita Keli, Piyusha Granti, Karpura Keli, Surapuri, Amriti, Padmachini, and Kanda, Shiri, Sara, Brika. She had then brought them all for Krishna. At home, Srimati Radharani had made various types of sweetmeats from milk and sugar, such as Ganga Jal, Amrita Keli, Piyusha Granti, Karpura Keli, Sarapuri, Amriti, Padmachini, and Kanda, Shir, Ikanda, Shiri Sara Brika. She had then brought them all for Krishna. Bhakshara Paripati Deki Krishna Hoila Mahasuki Bashi Koila Banya Bojan Sangiloya Sakigan Radha Koila Bojan Duhe Koila Mandire Shayan. When Krishna saw the very nice arrangement of food, he happily sat down and had a forest picnic. Then after Srimati Radharani and her gopi friends partook of the remnants, Radha and Krishna lay down together in the jeweled house. Keho Kori Vijan, Keho Para Samvahan, Keho Karai Tambula Bakan, Radha Krishna Nidragela, Sakigan, Shayana Koila, Deki Amara, Saki Hoilaman. Some of the gopis fanned Radha and Krishna, others massaged their feet, and some fed them betel leaves to chew. When Radha and Krishna fell asleep, all the gopis also lay down. When I saw this, my mind was very happy. Hinakali Moredari Mahakola Halakori Tumisab Ihan Loya Aila Kaha Yamuna Vrindaban Kaha Krishna Gopigan Sesuka Banga Koraila. Suddenly all of you created a great tumult, made a lot of noise. Suddenly all of you created a great tumult and picked me up and brought me back here. Where now is the river Yamuna? Where is Vrindaban? Where are Krishna and the gopis? You have broken my happy dream. And Guru Maharaj comments that we should not be so proud of our chanting or anything, because he says that this chanting that was being done was by exalted devotees like Swarup Damodar and others. And Krishna that brought Mahaprabhu back to external consciousness. But he described that they're chanting the holy name, and he said, suddenly you all made a lot of noise and you brought back here and you broke my happy dream. So Guru Maharaj said that even our chanting, we should not put pride in that, because here the exalted chanting of the devotees was compared to noise. But then Guru Maharaj said, but of course, this chanting of the holy name even took precedence took precedence over direct participation in Krishna Lila. So, okay. Suddenly all of you created a great tumult and picked me up and brought me back here. Where now is the river Yamuna? Where is Vrindaban? Where are Krishna and the gopis? You have broken my happy dream. Eteka kohite prabhura kevala baya hoila Swarup gosaire deki tahara puchila. Speaking in this way, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu fully returned to external consciousness. Sing Swarup Damodar Goswami, the Lord questioned him. Iha kene tomara amare loya aila Swarup gosai tabe kohite lagila. Why have you brought me here? He asked. Then Swarup Damodar answered him. Jamunara brahme tumi samudre parila samudrara tarange ashe eta duraila. You mistook the sea for the Yamuna River, he said, and you jumped into it. You have been carried this far by the waves of the sea. Ejalia jale kore toma utaila tomara parashe e premimata hoila. This fisherman caught you in his net and rescued you from the water. Because of your touch, he is now mad with ecstatic love for Krishna. Sabratri sabe bedai tomare anveshia jalijara muke shuni painu asya. Throughout the night, we all walked about in search of you. After hearing from the fishermen, we came here and found you. Tumi morcha chale brindavane deka krida tomara morcha deki sabe mane pai pina. While apparently unconscious, you witnessed the pastimes in Vrindaban. But when we saw you unconscious, we suffered great agony in our minds. Krishna nama loite tomara ardabaya hoila tate je bralapa koila taha je shunila. When we chanted the holy name of Krishna, however, you came to semi-consciousness, and we have all been hearing you speak like a madman. Prabhu kohe swapne deki gelana brindavane deki Krishna rasa koren gopigana sane. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, in my dream I went to Vrindaban, where I saw Lord Krishna perform the rasa dance with all the gopis. Jala krida kore koila banya bojane dekiami pralapa koilun hena loyamane. After sporting in the water, Krishna enjoyed a picnic. I can understand that after seeing this, I must certainly have talked like a madman. Tabe Swarup gosai tare snana karanya prabhure loyagara aila anandita haya. Thereafter, Swarup Damodar had Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu bathed in the sea, and then he very happily brought him back home. Etako hilun prabhura samudra patan iha je shunipai Chaitanya Charan. Thus I have described the incident of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu falling into the ocean. Anyone who listens to this pastime will certainly attain shelter at the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Sri Rupa Raghunath Parijara As Chaitanya Charitamrita Kohe Krishna Das. Praying at the lotus feet of Sri Rupa and Sri Raghunath, always desiring their mercy, I Krishna Das narrate Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, following in their footsteps. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purports to Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, Antya-lila, 18th chapter, describing Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's falling into the sea. So, this pastime is certainly very high pastime of Krishna's his Madhurya Lila with the gopis in the river of the Yamuna, very intimate pastime. Of course, we're reading the Chaitanya Charitamrita in sequence from beginning to end, and now we have two more chapters to go. Actually, chapters 19 and 20 of the Antya-lila. That's the end of Antya-lila and the end of the final chapters of the Chaitanya Charitamrita. So, in the meantime, as I said, I'm not commenting so much. These are high pastimes, and the whole world is remembering and feeling separation from Srila Acharya Maharaj, who passed away. Today is Wednesday, and he passed away early in the early hours of Monday, because it was for us Sunday evening, but it was Monday in India during the Brahma Muhurta. He passed away at 4 in the morning, or more or less. So very, very painful for us, and still. Now I'm reading very high things, but I feel it is my duty to continue reading from the Chaitanya Charitamrita, and we'll continue till we finish the Chaitanya Charitamrita in a few days. So, I feel speaking on such high topics, and when we're lamenting disappearance of our Acharya Dev, Srila Acharya Maharaj, reading these high pastimes, and the whole world is suffering his disappearance, certainly is very audacious. But I want to continue with the readings in sequence of the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Now we'll sing Hari Haraya. Hari Haraya Nama Krishna Jadavaya Nama. Hari Haraya Nama Krishna Jadavaya Nama. Jadavaya Madhavaya Keshavaya Nama. Jadavaya Madhavaya Keshavaya Nama. Gopal Govindaram Shri Madhusudan. Gopal Govindaram Shri Madhusudan. Giridhari Gopinatha Marana Mohan. Giridhari Gopinatha Marana Mohan. Sri Chaitanya Nityananda Sri Advaita Chandra. Sri Chaitanya Nityananda Sri Advaita Chandra. Gadadhara Shiva Sadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Gadadhara Shiva Sadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jai Rupa Sanatam Bhatta Raghunath. Jai Rupa Sanatam Bhatta Raghunath. Shri Jiva Gopala Bhatta Dasa Raghunath. Shri Jiva Gopala Bhatta Dasa Raghunath. H.I. Gosai Kori Charana Bandhan. Jai Gosai Kori Charana Bandhan. Jaoite Vignana Shabishtapuran. Jaoite Vignana Shabishtapuran. H.I. Gosai Jarmui Taradas. H.I. Gosai Jarmui Taradas. Tasabar Pada Renu Mora Panchagras. Tasabar Pada Renu Mora Panchagras. Tader Charana Sevi Bhakta Sanibas. Tader Charana Sevi Bhakta Sanibas. Janame Janame More Abhilas. Janame Janame More Abhilas. H.I. Gosai Jabe Brache Koilabas. H.I. Gosai Jabe Brache Koilabas. Radha Krishna Antya-lila Korila Prakash. Radha Krishna Antya-lila Korila Prakash. Anande Bolo Hari Bhaja Vrindavan. Anande Bolo Hari Bhaja Vrindavan. Shri Guru Vaishnava Pade Manjai Aman. Shri Guru Vaishnava Pade Manjai Aman. Shri Guru Vaishnava Pad Padma Koryash. Shri Guru Vaishnava Pad Padma Koryas, Harinam Sankirtana Kohe Naratamudas, Harinam Sankirtana Kohe Naratamudas, Shri Guru Vaishnava Pad Padma Koryas, Shri Guru Vaishnava Pad Padma Koryas, Harinam Sankirtana Kohe Naratamudas, Harinam Sankirtana Kohe Naratamudas. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Nitai Gora Haribo, 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 Nitai Gora Haribo, 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 Nitai Gora Haribo, 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 Go. Jai Saparikara Shishi Guru Goranga Gandharva Govinda Sundar Ju Ki Jai. Jai Saparikara Shishi Guru Goranga Gandharvika Giridhari Ju Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Paravajakacharya Ashtatara Sadarshi Shrimad Srila Bhakti Nirmalacharya Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Paravajakacharya Ashtatara Sadarshi Shrimad Srila Bhakti Sundar Govinda Dev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Paravajakacharya Ashtatara Sadarshi Shrimad Srila Bhakti Rakakshira Dev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Bhagavan Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Thakur Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Srila Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Srila Sat Chidananda Bhakti Vinod Thakur Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Vaishnava Sarvabhauma Srila Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai. Rupanuga Guru Bharga Ki Jai. Namachar Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Shri Rupa Sanatana Bhatta Ragana, Shri Jiva Gopal Bhattadasha Ragana, Shad Goswami Prabhu Ki Jai, Prem Sigo Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi, Shri Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai, Srila Krishna Das Kaviraj Goswami Prabhu Ki Jai, Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita Ki Jai, Srila Vrindaban Das Thakur Ki Jai, Sri Chaitanya Bhagwat Ki Jai, Nartam Srinivas Shamananda Prabhu Ki Jai, Jai Om Vishnupad Vishwabharanya Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai, Sri Navadip Dham Ki Jai, Sri Mayapur Ki Jai, Saparshada Sri Nityananda Prabhu Ki Jai, Saparshada Sriman Mahaprabhu Ki Jai, Sri Kuladvip Ki Jai, Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Mat Ki Jai, Sokel Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Sevashram Ki Jai, Ganga Devi Ki Jai, Tulasi Maharani Ki Jai, Bhakti Devi Ki Jai, Sri Vrindaban Dham Ki Jai, Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopi Govardhan Sham Kun Radhakunda Kalindi Yamuna Jo Ki Jai, Shri Purushottamadam Ki Jai, Baladeva Subhadra Jagannath Jo Ki Jai, Bhakti Vigna Vinashaya Shri Nrsingadev Ki Jai, Bhakta Prabhara Shri Prahlad Maharaj Ki Jai, Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai, Shri Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai, devotees Ki Jai. Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bol.
Jai Om Vishnu Pad, Srila Bhakti Pavan, Janardhan Maharaj Ki Jai. Jagannath Swami says Dandavat.
Okay, Dandavat Jagannath Swami.